I'm Brent.
I'm Brandon.
And I'm Brandel, and this is the Circle of Darkness. Hey, what's going on?
What's up?
We're here.
So, what I thought that we would do in this episode is talk to each other basically about how, again, I know a lot of his story because we've grown up together and stuff, but we could kind of all talk to each other about how we got into horror movies, horror music, the horror genre in general, because there's still probably stuff you don't even know that I grew up with that,
sure.
you know,
Yeah.
talk about it, see where it takes us.
That sounds good.
It's going to take us back
Okay.
How far back?
like 1989. 89.
You're that old?
I was 3 years old.
I was 4.
I was 3 too. I guess you're not that old.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So Brandon's 4 years old.
4 years old.
He's
Little
4
Brandon.
years old.
Yeah. Wilder than a buck.
You got $3. That's a lot of white.
Okay. My mom, she had to take care of me because I wilder than a buck. The only thing that could get me sit down was either Wizard of Oz, greatest movie of all time,
Okay.
or Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So that was my first.
Wait, so he's kind of raising his kid like he was raised.
Yeah, you definitely are, aren't you?
Raising my kids. They're all like that.
Yeah.
They're all like that. My oldest one's now he's getting kind of into horror movies. But yeah, that was my first horror movie was Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
So in order to get you to calm down, they would
As a
give you,
kid, yeah.
they would give you Texas Chainsaw Massacre
Or Wizard of Oz.
or Wizard of Oz, which is actually scarier, almost in my opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah, almost.
But see, like back then, like in my town, like it's a hole in the wall. There's nothing there to do. They used to have like this little purple and gold club. That's what it's called. Purple and
Sounds
gold
like a
club.
strip club.
It does.
It does, but they sold T-shirts, and basically what it was is like all the kids and stuff would go there, and they'd play 80s music stuff, and people would dance around. Like my sister would
Wait,
go
so
there.
it's a club?
Yeah, but I mean like in the 80s.
Yeah.
Not a strip club, though. Just a regular club.
I'm thinking
Okay.
like Fright Night, you know, the club scene
Like
kind of deal.
Just
yeah.
a dance club.
Yeah, just
Okay.
a dance club. Kind of like Footloose.
Okay.
Well,
Oh, okay.
yeah, it looked like Footloose in there because I remember going in there when I was younger.
Wait, is this the town you live in now?
Yeah,
Okay.
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
But my town's like Footloose.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm like Kevin Bacon. I'm like trying to,
I want everybody to dance.
but they don't want to dance.
Nobody wants to dance.
No.
Well, all right. So you're 4 years old. You're sitting around.
At 4,
the
I
only
couldn't
way to-
comprehend.
the
I was
only
probably
way to
still
sit down.
pissing on myself.
So at one point, I'm sure you got the two confused. You're probably like, I don't know if Leatherface is going to come out of this Yellow Brick Road thing, or if the witch is going to come.
Were
out
you
of
mixing the movies?
cornfield.
I don't think I ever mixed them, but the thing of it is I would never watch them in the living room. I was so scared of both of them. I would watch them in the kitchen. The kitchen was right here, and the living room's right here, and I'd be underneath the table, and I'd watch them underneath the table.
Oh man.
So
Okay.
you'd hide and watch them at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But that's how I also used to watch dirty movies. I would.
Wait, how old were you?
I'm still 4 years old. Hell,
okay.
my parents didn't
Jeez
care.
Louise.
They did not care. My grandmother
Okay.
didn't even care. She turned on wild movies, and I was
Like Cinemax?
Skinemax. I just would sit there and watch it.
Yeah.
But yeah, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. That's my start. Is
Okay.
that what's your start? What's your start of horror that you remember?
First horror movie I remember is House on Haunted Hill. I remember sitting right directly in front of the TV, like maybe 2 foot from the TV, you know. And as the movie was going, there's that scene where they're down in like the basement or whatever, you know, the cellar, and the guy's wandering around in that dark room, and he turns around, and the old lady's face is like boom right
my
there,
God.
and I remember like flipping backwards on the floor, like it scared me that bad, you know. But that's probably my first memory of a horror movie.
And
Was that?
and that scene still holds up. Like
It does.
like with you even saying that, I knew exactly. And like even like when
yeah.
you could tell like in that scene that they pull her on a thing where she's
Yep.
like yeah, shit, it's horrifying.
This is bad.
God.
What was your first?
I'm pretty sure the first time that I remember being scared by a horror movie or anything like that was the first Chucky. I remember just being a kid and my mom let me watch it, my stepdad, because my doodle wouldn't let me watch that. But I do remember watching it, and then I couldn't even, I couldn't sleep at least for 2 days. I had trouble sleeping, but the main problem was that my sister had dolls and stuff, and my stepmom has always had doll collections. So even when I was like tiny, I would go from there and I'd go over there. And the earliest memory I ever have of being so scared I actually pissed myself was my brother spun me up in a swing set and screamed, "Chucky's out here," and let me go, and I couldn't get out. And so I let go just to fall, and it slung me out, knocked the breath out of me. So I was on the ground, I couldn't breathe. And I just
Thinking Chucky's going after you.
and I'm sitting there thinking he's behind one of these trees or some shit. And even to this day, like even it's funny now to watch it, but I get like freaked out. If I was home alone and there was a doll, I'm still gonna get freaked out.
There's a lot.
So Chucky was definitely, and it wasn't even the fact that he was talking or going crazy or anything, killing people. It was he's so small and he could do so much.
Yeah.
That's what I still didn't get. I was like, okay, something's messed up.
What? Oh, come on. Can a serial killer possessed doll watch a little bit of Raw without having to deal with commercials every 2 seconds?
That little doll trilogy of terror. I can't think of what its name is, but
Yeah.
God, that always haunted my
Scared
dreams.
the crap out of me. I just showed Rachel that the other day.
Oh God.
Scared the crap out of me.
So, okay, so 4 years old, at what point did you start actively seeking out horror movies?
Full blown understanding like what I was going for, probably. Like I would watch them periodically. Like I'd kind of look for them. Like back then, like we had the TV guide, so like I would look through the TV guide and I'd scan through and I'd be like, okay, let me see, Killer Clowns from Outer Space. I'd circle it because it'd tell what day it would come on. So if it came on during the day I was at school, guess what? Sick that day. I'm sick.
I gotta stay home.
And I would do that. Like
Just to watch Killer Clowns.
yeah, because for some reason, like I don't know why, but I wouldn't go out and buy the movies. Like I would either go rent them or wait till they come on TV. So I
But
would.
what age was that?
I guess probably about 8 or 9 that I can really trying to.
Well,
shoot
hell, I know
for.
why you didn't buy it. You didn't have money. You're 8 or 9.
Well, no, my
That
parents
and
would-
also, they were really expensive.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, people didn't really buy VHSs very often.
The only ones I remember going out and buying, like going to the store, was like Batman. Like whenever Batman Returns,
Yeah.
and stuff like
Yeah.
that. Or Ninja
And like
Turtles.
Disney movies, like Lion King came out, I remember, and bought that and stuff like that.
Yeah, I'm
But
pretty sure VHS were like $29 or something.
Probably.
back then. To get one, they weren't cheap.
Yeah,
Mm.
but
My dad had oodles and oodles of like bootleg VHS.
Uh-huh.
That was his thing. Is like VCRs, and he knew a lot of people in like the audiovisual industry as a DJ because he did for a living. And so as a DJ, he knew all these people that had VCRs and stuff, and so he would have them either record stuff or he would rent the VHS and then go and have them, copy it over and stuff. So he had an insane amount of copied VHS. And and they were so random. Like it'd be like a comedy, and then a horror movie,
All
and
on the
then-
same VHS?
Oh yeah. It was always like that. It'd
See
be
how
like,
many he could fit on a 4-hour VHS?
Yeah, it'd be like the Ernest Scares Stupid, and then like Showgirls.
I like how he remembers that one because he knows, like, okay, right after Ernest, I don't
I
get a
remember
Showgirl. Yeah, I think it was. I think like I was 9 when my stepdad was doing like latex mask stuff. Him and a few of his friends would sculpt and then try to make like a little latex mask, and he did airbrushing and stuff and all the time. And so in the garage, I remember walking out there, and there was like a creature mask and a bride mask and stuff like that. So I was like always looking at these things, and that's the first like scary movie I remember, horror movie, watching The Creature, because I asked him what it was, and then he took me inside, and we watched it that night. It was like the first time, and I was still scared of it too, because even like Goosebumps, it reminded me of the Goosebumps mask, in that episode.
Yeah, the
so
first-
at
the
first
first one.
time, at 9, I was like, that's what that is. So it scared the hell out of me. And I'd just walk out there and I'd open the garage door and I'd just look at it. And then I'd make sure I was just back enough that I could just close it if I felt weird. And I'd just look at it again. But yeah, it creeped me the hell out. And that was kind of like my first, okay, I'm interested in that.
Well, talking about stuff that always scared you, like if I told you the first person that terrified me as a kid, you'd be like, wow. Christopher Lloyd as Uncle Fester in Addams Family freaked me out.
Why?
I don't know, but
He was pretty weird looking.
But I had a Addams Family like movie memorabilia book or whatever. Like it had like scrapbook or whatever, and it had this huge poster of Uncle Fester in it. Still, I haunts my dreams, and I don't know why, but like I would get close to that poster.
You still have it?
I think I do. I think it's at my grandmother's house. I'll have to find it and I'll bring it in.
If you do,
But
I'd
yeah,
like to hang
Uncle,
it up in here.
Oh,
Yeah.
but I don't know why. Like it freaked me out. Like of everything that I used to watch, like I'd have my mom go rent. I mean, like she would go rent Faces of Death, and like I would.
Jeez.
Yeah, I mean, that was one of my earliest memories of like scary stuff is Traces of Death. My stepdad had the box set, like had that nasty little box set of it, and like Faces of Death, and on the side it had like that one image that made up the whole set. And like at first I didn't think it was real. I was like, this isn't real. This guy's penis isn't getting cut off. Like I just thought it was like his movie magic, you know? But no, when we tried it, I remember being 15 or 14 with you.
I think we were younger than that.
I don't know, but
Closer to 13.
I remember me and him, like we watched it. We went and rented it VHS and from Amps or whatever, movie store. And we sit there, we watched it all day. Like all of a sudden we were like, oh my God, all this stuff, beheadings, whatever. And then that night, like he left, I was still young enough that this happened. I went to sleep and I had a dream that my dad was crushed in a car and I was like watching it happen. And I ran in like the middle of the night screaming, like freaking out. And I was probably 13 or something, but I remember like crying my eyes out. And we watched him again when we were 15, and I haven't seen him since then. I can't handle that.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of like the more famous shots. The guy in the interview and
Is it the senator guy or whatever?
with the envelope.
Yeah.
I mean that was everywhere. You could see that, but there was some that were in some of those videos, like because there was some of them that were so, like weird, like like the 2000s.
Yeah, I remember one. There's like a javelin throw. It goes through a guy's body at like a sports event, but
the like it was like Faces of Death 1, 2, and 3, and however many, and then it got into like Faces of Death 2000 or something.
It went weird.
There was a lot of copycats of Faces of Death, and we rented every one of them. And there was some that were just so crazy, and I've never seen them since, but I can remember them perfect. You know, every crazy scene.
It's weird to me that they even did that. Like they would do that because even today, like on YouTube and stuff, they still get taken down.
Yeah,
like today, the first thing, that car crash thing you showed me today.
Yeah.
I haven't seen anything like. I mean, I watch some pretty violent stuff every day.
That was crazy.
Like, but that was insane. Ugh. So, what got both of you? Like, what got you into horror music? Not just the genre of horror and stuff like that, because at some point, straight into the music side of it.
Like the horror music of like soundtracks and stuff of the
I don't know. So did you
just like horror?
just horror music in general, horror punk, horror metal, anything to do with that?
I think just the movies in general, like because like the first like genre of music I got into was like the death metal scene, so like the more violent and stuff of the lyrics and stuff that kind of drawed me because the movies that I was obsessed with at the time was like the cheesy slasher movies and stuff.
Yeah.
So like it had that gore factor and stuff.
Yeah.
So like I was late in life on the classic stuff, but like I said at the time, I mean that was probably it. Just like the Slumber Party Massacres and stuff like that. That really got me like toward.
Yeah. I remember it's weird because like I remember we used to have this video store called T&M Video right down the road, and It was the only place that you could really go and see horror movie without them being covered. Like they'd put plastic things over ours here if they were bad. Like I remember all kinds of like Slumber Party Massacre. You know, her on the front with the backpack. Is that the cover of it?
That's
Or is that
Sleepaway
just
Camp too.
Slumber Party Camp.
Yeah.
So that they wouldn't have. They'd have like the plastic over it. You have to
Really?
like remove
Wow.
it. But I remember T&M Video didn't, and so I would just go in there, me and my dad, and like he'd be renting his action movie, whatever, and I'd just be like, I'd just sneak over there and just stare at it, and that's like the one I remember more than anything.
Yeah.
But so did you like the actual soundtracks to the movies? Like,
And I still do to this day. Like there's, side note, I used to rent wrestling videos because I was obsessed with the music. You know, like I would look and I'd be like, okay, Ultimate Warrior.
the intro?
Yeah, I was like, so Ultimate Warrior, he's on this. He's coming out. I know he
music's even
wins.
playing.
Yeah, so I'm gonna listen to Ultimate Warrior twice. So I'd always rent like SummerSlam or whatever. Same thing with horror movies. It'd be like, you know, I was thinking Killer Clowns from Outer Space with the Dickies. I was like, yeah, I gotta listen to that. Sleepaway Camp 2 is my all-time favorite slasher movie of all time. The soundtrack on it is phenomenal. I listen to it every day, and I'm not even trying to be funny. Like when I wake up and I take showers, I got a horror movie soundtrack, and it plays like Friday the 13th, Part 8. From the band's called Metropolis. It's called Darkest Side of the Night. It's like the very first song that comes on. Jason Takes Manhattan.
Wow.
So I listen to that. I mean, like there's so many songs like in horror movies that I'm obsessed with. But yeah, I mean that's pretty much it. It's nostalgia. Like that's the reason why I'm in like horror movies and stuff. It's memories and stuff that I've attached to them, and I keep trying to get that feeling now as an adult. You know, so that's why I keep trying to search for it. That's why I watch Madman a million times. That's why I watch Cannibal Holocaust. You know, it's like how the hell can you watch it? Well, I don't know how the hell I watch it. I just know that I like
Yeah.
the way I like the way I felt when I watched it X amount of years ago.
They're not good movies.
Yeah, exactly.
It's weird too because like it's not even movies, but like I have to watch like crazy things that like frighten me to get me to sleep. I have to be like adrenaline rushed.
Oh, wow.
And then I come down and go to sleep. So every night before I go to sleep, I watch something scary. Doesn't have to be a scary movie, but it has to be something violent, or it has to be something like tragic, crazy. It has to be car crash videos. It has to be like almost death. But it can't, if it's crazy, like if I can see something going crazy, like a head exploding, can't watch it. But if it's like, the best head kick knockout compilation, like I'll watch 4 hours of that at 4 a.m., until I can go to sleep. But scary movies, on the other hand, even to this day, I can't watch before I go to sleep because I'll just sit there and just think about it in the middle of the night, like the whole time. But if it's something violent, I don't think about it because I'm like, nothing's going to happen here. You know? But horror movies, even to this day, I can't watch them before I go to sleep.
What's something you can't watch, Brent, to this day? Is that a bad question? You turn quick.
He can't.
Yeah, there's
an entire genre that he can't watch.
yeah, I mean, there's a long story, probably for another podcast episode. I'll tell the whole story, but I was traumatized.
Which is weird because the story earlier about House on Haunted Hill, when the face popped up,
That's true.
this has a lot
That's
to do
true.
with
It
the
does have a
story
lot-
of why
it-
he
it
can't
really
watch a
does.
lot of movies.
Oh,
Which is
so
kind of
that's-
crazy that's my earliest. I had never even put the two together.
Yeah, when you said that, I was
but
like, wait a
that
second.
that is kind of crazy that my earliest scared moment
Is the same
is
scared
the
moment
same thing that literally traumatized me.
you.
But yeah, I don't watch ghost movies
Right.
because of a particular thing that happened that it just gives me a feeling that I don't like.
I understand that completely.
But I was always into the old, Universal stuff, the black and white stuff. That's what I always liked in the horror genre. You
Right.
know, my dad had all that stuff when I was a kid, so I literally watched it, like House on Haunted Hill, all the way through to like Alfred Hitchcock stuff and the Twilight Zone. Like that's the stuff that I grew up watching. And then Tales from the Crypt,
Yeah.
the show.
Yeah.
I mean, that was on all the time. We were always watching those. So a lot of those really made an impact on that. But I'd say far as music, I mean, I remember watching Thriller. You know?
God, yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's almost everybody's first
yeah,
like
I mean-
feeling of, man, this is awesome. Like
Yeah.
whatever's going on is absolutely amazing.
Because Thriller had this, like it was almost like you went through a haunted house when you watched that music video. You know, it draws you in the beginning, and then you're like, it's so fun, and it's frightening at the same time. You know, especially as a kid. Like I was probably 7 or 8 years old. You know, when I remember watching it for the first time, or maybe it was it was on so much back then.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, seeing those and just having this like almost like a kind of like a cheesy feeling, but mixed in with it, it was very like Halloween kind of feeling, and so it was different than like I'm scared, but it was like horror from a different perspective. Like horror is in a fun way instead of horror as in like a scary way. You know?
I don't know. Like his makeup in it when I was a kid scared the shit out of me.
But it was like the fact of the music with it,
Yeah.
and the dancing and everything, that even though it was really like intense to watch, you still got like a fun feeling, like a haunted, like you were going through a haunted house.
Oh,
like,
yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Well, it had the split elements that I'd like, because like the first part of it is the werewolf, right? He's doing the werewolf movie, whatever. Then he's in the theater. He walks out. It's zombie then. So like you go from werewolf to zombie, and then it cuts back and he's got the werewolf eyes at the end. So it comes full circle.
It's got a
again.
twist.
Yeah.
And
And it's got
And it
Vincent
was
Price in it.
Vincent
yeah,
Price.
the voice alone when the music's going is just like absolutely insane. And even to this day, like the other day I was listening to it because of vocal videos and stuff about Thriller, and man, I was just like,
it's so
this
good.
is so good. It
really is.
I don't know who wrote it all the way, but it's incredible.
I'm not sure either. I mean, I don't know, but
Mickey J.
Mickey J.
Mickey J. wrote it.
Mickey J. wrote it. I don't know if we're supposed to like Mickey J. anymore. Do we like him? I don't think we're allowed to like him, right?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Thriller was cool though.
Thriller was awesome.
Hey, Thriller.
Bad was rad.
Yeah.
Bad was rad.
Yeah, it was.
Beat It and Thriller.
And Dirty Diana. I don't know what that song was about.
I don't either.
But
Probably
hey,
some gag.
so music wise, the first real horror music I found was the Misfits. You know, when I first got into punk rock, I was going to like Sam Goody's, or it was On Cue, and the first one we went to back then. But those were just trying to find punk bands and stuff like that. And
It was almost like back then you would flip through the CDs to look at the covers.
oh yeah,
You're like,
for sure.
What is that? What is that?
You know, and then I don't know where, I started seeing Misfits and stuff like that, but the first Misfits record I got was the Collection 2, and listened to that, and what we were talking about it earlier, but the Misfits to me was like in two separate forms, because the first time I heard the Misfits was with Black Flag and Minor Threat and The Exploited and all this stuff, so it was kind of like lumped in with it. It didn't have a very separate feel. It was just like the vibe of it was the same as that. It's just the content was obviously horror movies.
Right.
I knew that, but I didn't separate the two. It was still just the same.
It was all one punk genre,
Yeah.
but within it, they were in there.
Yeah. So it wasn't like I didn't look at them as any different. They were just another crazy punk band, And then when I saw Famous Monsters, which I actually saw the first time I saw it, was the booklet folded out and pinned to your wall, your brother's wall, actually, next to his bed. And I remember seeing all the faces, from the booklet all sprawled out, and then I think he was listening to it, we were listening to it, or whatever, and but yeah, hearing those songs then made me go, oh, like this is different, and it feels different. It feels like a horror movie. It doesn't feel like just a punk band. It feels like the way you feel when you watch a movie, but it's in the music,
Right.
And so that was my first, introduction into horror music, I guess, specifically.
Right.
So
When did you listen to
The Misfits got
or was that the first horror band that's based all around horror?
I mean, obviously, like Cannibal Corpse or something.
Yeah,
like that.
that's not.
what-
I'm
what I'm
saying
trying-
like
yeah, I'm trying to think,
movies,
like-
like horror movies, like really.
Yeah, I'm guessing that they probably was. I'm trying to think at that time, because like I said, when I got big into the Misfits, like I said, it was the '90s era. Like I went crazy and like I went obsessed with it. And
What about like Rob Zombie and stuff like that? I mean, did you hear about those guys?
yeah,
or-
I knew about them, but I mean, I never really got big. I mean, like at the time, like I knew who White Zombie was, and but say like I was in like Pantera and.
I mean,
stuff like
Hellbilly
that.
Deluxe wasn't something that you.
No, my friends was obsessed with it though, but I never.
Because I knew that stuff, but I never quite. Like I never associated that, even though it was very, you watch Living Dead Girl, you watch Dracula or something.
So you didn't listen to Rob Zombie. Nobody around you listened to Rob Zombie like that, really.
They did, but like I said, for some reason, like I never associated like,
Rob
horror.
Zombie with horror.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
don't know.
it's the same thing. With
Yeah,
me.
Yeah,
White
like, I don't-
Zombie. Like I guess White Zombie is what I heard first.
Yeah.
And I didn't associate it at all with horror music because I was like, everything around White Zombie for me was like KMFDM, Nine Inch Nails, White Zombie, and all these old bands that my
Yeah.
stepdad was listening to. So I didn't think this is horror at all or anything.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, that's a really good question. I mean, I honestly cannot think of a band that was all horror until I got into the Misfits. Like I said, I was late in life getting into them. But like to me, the horror bands and stuff was whoever was on the soundtrack. So
Yeah.
like Dawkins,
Dawkins was fucking real.
Dream Warriors, boom. And,
Right.
And like I knew the Ramones because of Pet Cemetery,
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
What about Queen of the Damned? Did you watch that and then
I
get into
did
that soundtrack?
Well, yeah, I was huge in Korn. Like,
Oh, yeah?
yeah. I thought I was Jonathan Davis. Like, that's who I was wanting to be. Like at
That's
that time.
sick.
Yeah, I had.
Brent was heavy into Korn for a bit when he was 5th grade.
yeah.
When Blind
Before
came out.
we were, really.
One of the first times I met Brent, he had a Korn beanie on. Korn beanie. But yeah, I think when I was 9, when did Collection 2 come out? 1995?
Yeah, I mean, probably.
I think it was 1995. I remember the first horror thing. I didn't even associate the Malignmen. So the Malignmen were the local band in Knoxville that were a horror band. I don't know if you'd call them horror, but I mean, they had like, songs about Evil Dead or Army of Darkness and like serial killers, but they also had songs about like James Bond. So, but I mean, I guess besides that band, Misfits Collection too, the same. My stepdad had it, and I was just like, oh, okay.
So did Collection 1 just not sell very well?
I don't think so. But it is weird because when he had Collection 2, he said that there was I was like, well, Collection 2, what's Collection 1? And then
Where's that at?
we went to On Cue and he bought it for me. So I got Collection 1, Collection 2. And yeah, and I remember, so I met Jed, then my sister's boyfriend back then. And that's when like he started kind of showing me some other bands too and stuff. And I remember asking him like, oh, the Misfits, I was telling him like I like Collection 1, Collection 2. And he was like, oh yeah, they have a new album coming out. And that was right when American Psycho was about to drop. And so
1996.
yeah. And right when it was about to drop, I remember On Cue they had like a little kiosk, like a Misfits like thing that you could go there. And so I got it on cassette before I had it on CD.
Dang.
It still had a cassette wall. And I remember going in there with him, getting it, and I put it in and I heard Blacklight. It was like the first song I remember hearing. But that's kind of when I actually associated, even Collection 2, I didn't even associate them with horror movies. I didn't think about it like that. I just thought about it as punk rock, like you were saying. But I think when I heard American Psycho, I thought it was like a horror movie.
Yeah.
Like when I saw the booklet, when I saw, Graves standing there, Doyle, nasty looking, everything, like then I associated it. Oh, this is like a cool horror movie or something.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where it went. And then Famous Monsters I didn't like for like a year. I'd say like a year I didn't like it because I got so used to the way like American Psycho sounded.
Yeah.
And then I remember putting in Famous Monsters and I heard Forbidden Zone. I was like, what is this? And as a kid, all I cared about is like how fast were they playing, how heavy was it or whatever, but it was not that.
I feel a little down on myself. Like, y'all are making me reevaluate like my life.
Why?
Because, I mean, like you would imagine I'd be into something like horror music-wise. But, I mean, I was, but like I said, with soundtracks and stuff, like I was.
Again, that's what's so weird about you is like, well, I mean, Brent likes horror movies, like old, like a lot of vintage, like, you know, classic stuff. And I mean, if I watch a horror movie, it's usually like a vampire or like a comedy horror or 80s something kind of. I don't really watch a lot of horror movies. What got me into horror punk, horror metal, horror genre, anything where like it was American Psycho.
Right.
Like that got me into it. Like I could care less about horror movies back then. I was like, whatever, it's just whatever. But when American Psycho came out, like that's what literally got me to go like, oh, this is cool.
All right.
So it was like the opposite for me, you know? And now horror movies are cool, but I still associate. If somebody says horror, I'm like, oh, like the Misfits?
Yeah, right.
You know, like I'm not even thinking about a movie anymore. I'm just like, oh, yeah, you know, the Misfits, they're horror.
Yeah. I mean, I remember being probably maybe 11 years old and seeing my cousin was really into all the alternative music at the time. So, I mean, this is like 97 is when it would have been. So, like, his CD stuff was like Rage Against the Machine and Korn and Limp Bizkit, Marilyn Manson, Head Pee, Snot,
Cold Chamber.
Like, Cold Chamber, all this stuff like that, you know. And I would hear it from him, Tool, you know, and I would see his CD collection and I would hear it and stuff, but I wasn't allowed to have anything like that, you know. So, like, it was always really, really intriguing to me. And I remember the church that I went to had a booklet that like somebody would send them, like a Christian whatever, a monthly magazine.
Yeah.
And this one, the cover of it was Marilyn Manson from a concert of Antichrist Superstar.
Yes.
And he's like standing up there all crazy looking with his dripping drapes and all this stuff, you know, and the corset. And I was like, I'm taking this.
So what's funny about that is that was the picture you had in your binder.
Yeah.
When I met you.
That's how I got it.
So yeah, when I met him, he had that picture in his binder. And I was like, this kid's got to be weird. I'll talk to him because I was wearing like a Less Than Jake shirt or like one of those ska. I was really into ska in the 6th grade. Really got heavily into like Link 80 and Real Big Fish and every ska band you could think of. Voodoo Glow Skulls. But I remember meeting Brent. I remember seeing him in the hallways a bunch. And then one day I saw him carrying that binder. I was like, yeah, he got to be kind of weird. Yeah. He's got to be a little weird if he's listening to that or something.
And I think like my cousin gave me some of the booklets from it. So I think I had like a Korn booklet and I had probably a Limp Bizkit one or something, you know, like, so there was like some stuff like that, but I didn't really associate that with horror, but I mean, it's very obvious that that's what I was intrigued by because Marilyn Manson, the way he looked and everything, it was the horror, you know, really. Especially like in his music videos and stuff like that, which I would see on MTV, you know, I mean, especially late at night, that's when they would play all that stuff. It was crazy, Headbangers Ball and all that. But yeah, but then I met you, and then from there, like that stuff was like, I don't listen to this.
Yeah.
You know,
It's
and so
weird
then,
though.
So then I got actual CDs. Like my first real CDs was after I got turned on to punk rock music. So that's what I went to actively look for. It wasn't just.
Did you
something
get
I saw.
Cinema Beer Nuts probably first?
Oh
or
yeah,
something?
yeah. Cinema Beer Nuts, Punkoramas,
Punkoramas, any Epitaph stuff.
AFI, Black Sails was one of my first CDs. Pennywise, Unknown Road, yeah, all that stuff.
It is weird because like I never searched or looked for any other horror bands. Like I just assumed the Misfits were the only band like that. Like I knew like, yeah, but I knew like the Malignment existed, you know, like I knew these bands existed, but I didn't even associate it with it. I didn't know it was a genre. I didn't know. I was like, man, that's weird. I don't know. That's strange.
Well, I mean, like, I've heard like the Cramps, of course, like in Return of the Living Dead. Like, I would hear them in that, but I never was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna look up this band or whatever. I never had that. I think it's where back whenever I was living in the mountains, still am. Like none of my friends really had the same interest as me at the time. So that's why, like when I was in high school, I joined the basketball team. I did all that. Was I any good? Hell no, I wasn't any good. But I didn't know where I fit in.
We got to go ball together.
Yeah, because I mean, like, I would watch all these horror movies and stuff, but I didn't have nobody to talk to. You know, I'd draw, Michael Myers on my paper or whatever, and they'd come up, oh, Jason. Yeah, I'm like, fuck, no, no. So I had to try to find my place in high school. So through that time, like, I thought I was going to be like a professional wrestler, so that was the thing. Yeah. So like, I never really pursued anything horror until I got into music. So that was the thing. So like, I was like, what do I know about horror movies? So got in death metal and started writing death metal songs about horror movies.
Yeah, that's what's so weird too is like wrestling. I think pulled us all into probably like watching The Undertaker.
Oh sure,
stuff like that, and just that entire creepiness of wrestling and.
Man, that's what's so crazy about wrestling in general is that it had just about every aspect of life and pop culture was all built into it. Everything from superheroes to horror to, glam, stuff. I mean, like, Shawn Michaels had come out and, everybody that was into Poison and Cinderella and shit were like...
Bret the Hitman Hart, like Glasses, anything like that.
But then you got like Papa Shango comes out. And
that's what scared the shit out of me. When you're a kid, you're a tiny kid and you're watching this in the dark with your dad sitting there. Like, Undertaker comes out. You're like, oh my god.
No, that's what I was thinking.
Like, this is real.
The Papa Shango is a perfect thing about horror. Like what got you? I mean. Whenever he put that spell,
my god, I thought it was so real, dude.
And
I was like, oh no,
the blood,
the blood,
or black goo come out of his head.
Yeah, that got me the first. Yeah. But then, like when they went backstage and he was puking up like the pea grease soup or whatever. God,
oh man, the Ultimate Warrior was like my idol. So when I was seeing that, I remember being in tears over that,
crying,
because you're thinking, how's the Ultimate Warrior going to pull through this?
He's killed him.
Dead.
He's dead. He's really cursed him.
No, he pulled the damn power of all the warriors.
Oh yeah.
Pulled him in and defeated him. Defeated Papa Shango.
Did he end up in an actual match with him? Because I don't even remember it.
I think they just built the story up like real big, and then like they never had like a big payoff.
I don't think they did.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, because I never remember it.
I think they did have a match, and then like he come out, and it was like a squash match. It wasn't anything. I don't know.
But again, back then I feel like the build up, the storyline was so good.
Oh yeah,
they could spend like 4 months on one guy's story, and I was all for it.
Yeah,
but now
I remember
don't feel like they do that.
The Jake the Snake, Macho Man, Elizabeth.
Oh my god,
that whole storyline, man, that was like one of the craziest storylines.
But yeah, I mean, I feel like wrestling had a big part of it. But yeah, I mean, even with like horror punk, I don't even know what started us to play it. I mean, I'm assuming. I mean, Misfits were always his, like, no matter what we were doing, metal, death metal, heavy metal, whatever, hardcore, whatever we were doing, we always came back. If we were, even in, like the hardcore bands, that we've been in, we'd always cover a Misfits song. Mm-hmm. So even if we're over there doing crazy breakdowns or whatever we're doing, we're still going to throw a Misfits song in there.
I remember the first, like, other than the Misfits, the first thing that I remember that I considered to be horror punk or whatever was I went to Warped Tour. I was probably 15. Went with my cousin to Warped Tour and saw Tiger Army play. Yeah. And it was right when Power of Moonlight came out, and I stood there and watched them, and they looked like a horror band.
Yeah.
Because they had their crazy giant mohawks and just everything was black, and they had makeup and then I bought that Power of Moonlight, the CD and the record, and I remember just being obsessed.
Oh,
with
I
that
remember.
forever. I mean,
He spent a good 2 years. Like I was just like, we got to come down off this, man.
yeah.
We got to
I mean,
come
it
down
was
off this high.
but after I went with my cousin and we saw that, then he started looking up other like psychobilly stuff.
He got
So
into
we
necromantics
Madsen,
really
necromantics.
big.
Yeah. So then I started hearing that stuff. And yeah, I mean, so that was probably some of the more like early, and then AFI, obviously, the All Hallows Eve
Yeah.
EP. So that stuff was the earliest that I can kind of associate with horror punk, you know. And that's all I ever thought was. Even when we started playing in a horror punk band, we thought that was it. That was that was all there was.
I mean, what year did we start? 2008.
2008. Yeah.
2008 is when we started this, and I remember the first band. Like, I mean, I'd heard Tiger Army and all these bands. I still didn't associate them with like horror. Like, it just didn't cross my mind. But I saw Calabrese video. Voices of the Dead, and that's when I was like, oh, there's other like not giant bands, like there's local and smaller bands that are doing this as well. That was kind of like my first introduction to not giant bands that are in the genre.
And I think at that very same time, there was also the This Is Horror Punk compilation that they were selling at like Hot Topics.
Yeah, and I never had that. You had it, but I never got that.
But Zombies was another one.
Yeah, so when I first heard Wolfskin Killer by Zombies, like that's what hooked me to horror punk. I was like, oh my God, this is, I mean, that's still on rotation to this day. I don't listen to a lot of horror punk, but that album, every couple days I run through. So, yeah, I think that one like really bit me into wanting to do more with it. And, but yeah, who was your first introduction to the genre? Horror punk.
It was Calabrese, and they just come out with They Call Us Death. And my cousin's like, I used to have this Dodge Charger that had this huge Misfits decal back on the window. I mean, they just said Misfits. And finally, my cousin's like, man, you have to check out this band if you like, the Misfits. And for some reason, I was so against like anything else than what I liked. Like I was so against it. I was like, oh fuck them, I ain't listening to them. But they bought me the CD, and God, I wore it out. So like I got obsessed with Calabrese, and I still am. But then like Pandora and stuff, like I would try to find bands that sound like. So that's how I discovered like Nimvid and just all these bands, and I got obsessed with all of Crimson Ghost, like everybody. Like I would constantly have to listen to them, and that's what got me sucked into it. So even though I was listening to these horror punk bands, the bands I was in like a doom band, I guess you can say, at the time. But every time I got in a band, I wasn't getting my feel of what I was wanting, and it's because just different ideas of other musicians. It's not that we had problems, I never had any problems with other musicians. It's just they had different ideas for the band. It's like, hey, like you brought up Pennywise. Like I had a guitar player that was obsessed with Pennywise. A lot of his riffs
I would have hated him.
You wouldn't.
God,
You wouldn't
I
like
hate
it. Hey, he reminds me a lot of you, except the Pennywise.
No, man.
He's really good. He's
really good. He's
really good.
too. Okay.
Yeah,
He's a really good guy.
But that, like I said, he wrote a lot of like MXPX riffs and a lot of Pennywise. He was obsessed with that, and like at that time, I wasn't wanting that. So that's the thing. That's when I stopped and I started trying to. I was like, okay, I'm gonna emulate horror punk. So what did I do? Found y'all and I copied y'all. And that's what I did. So
and it's weird too, because even when we first started, I don't think we even knew what we were doing.
No,
I don't think we knew,
no
because again, we didn't know there were other bands. We'd never heard any of those bands, any horror punk bands besides Misfits, Tiger Army. And so, it wasn't like we were like, hey, all these other horror punk bands are playing, let's do something.
I would see the other in a lot of metal magazines and stuff.
Yeah.
Like they was They was the biggest to me at the time because I was like, hell, they're in magazines. They have to be big. But like I said, when I got in the Calibers, I mean, it was all over. I mean,
You just went down the rabbit hole.
God.
Well,
And boys was cool.
boys,
God,
cool.
yeah.
Throwing a leather jacket for you, and you were done, weren't
God, yeah.
Heck yeah.
I stalked them one time. They played up in Nashville, and I was like, let's see. I was like, bands usually get here about 12 or 1. So I went up there at 11 o'clock.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, in Nashville. And I waited.
Jeez.
And so they finally pulled up. And whenever Davey walked in, like, I always call him a son of a bitch. Like,
Okay.
every time. Like, in Predator, you know, like, where he goes, Dylan. They shake hands and goes, you son of a bitch. You know, you son of a bitch. What's wrong? You been pizza pushing too much? But that's what I always said. I always call them sons of bitches. And I'd always tell Bobby I hated him because of how good he was and how good he looked and just how good he sounded. But yeah, like I spent the whole day with them and they fed me. And then right before I left, Davey gave me communion. He gave me a bottle of water out of the back of the van.
Okay.
And he gave me a half a loaf of bread. He said
Perfect.
He said he didn't want me to go home empty stomach.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like that.
But yeah, but one good thing I like telling this. I won't tell it on here. At the time I was working at automotive company.
Okay.
And I'm sitting there and I got these riffs and stuff on my phone. I'm letting Bobby listen to them. And I'm letting Jimmy. He goes, yeah. He goes, what's your goals like in life and stuff? Like, you want to be a supervisor or something? I said, fuck, I don't want to do what you're doing. I want to be a punk rocker. What the hell are you talking about? I'm letting y'all listen to these riffs.
I'm letting you listen to my riffs, dude.
Yeah, I
Come
wanna- I
on.
wanna be a
I
punk
wanna
rocker.
fucking riff out, man.
Yeah, I want to be damn Jimmy Calabrese.
Hell. Yeah, I mean, it is weird. You know, like I don't even remember. I kind of remember when Brent brought me like a couple hour songs, and him and the singer back then was just like, "Hey, we got these songs." And I was like, "Okay, let's hear them." I remember hearing them. I was like, "That's weird. Let's do this." I don't know what we're doing because I'm pretty sure the first one I played drums to was like "Bride to Be."
Well, it started with the solo. Like I was trying to do a solo horror band, and I didn't have a name for it yet. It was just like a project thing we were doing, but I did have a song called Silent Horror. And I recorded it with my cousin. It was really, really bad, and I have no idea where it's at now or anything about it really. But after that, I was kind of writing some riffs and things and some stuff, and then I got with James, and we worked out 2 songs, and just on an acoustic, and that's at the time you guys weren't playing music anymore because the band you were in had kind of stopped playing at the time, and so it was just a matter of bringing them to you, and then you were like, well, yeah, let's try and play them live,
Yeah.
get the old band together,
Get the old band back together. And it went from there.
Like a month later, we were recording a 6-song EP.
It was funny because we went
5
from
songs.
like I was working and owning a skate shop, and I didn't play music. I didn't have drums even still. Why do every time I quit a band, I sell all my gear and have to rebuy everything
I do the same thing.
because I'm poor and we all need money, and we're like, okay, yeah, we need money. But I remember not buying drums. This kid that lived here, a really good friend, Colt Irvin, gave me a drum set to play with. He's like, hey man, just play these. You can have them. I don't care. And I remember setting them up in the skate shop, and Britt and James came over and brought an amp and a little PA thing, and we played. And that first day, I think we played Bride to Be, Violent Side, maybe.
Yeah. Beware.
And I remember after that night, it was almost like we all looked at each other and we were like, yeah, full force, we ready? It went from, we haven't played music in years and we don't know what this is, to,
We should be in a band.
and then 5 days later,
I think we also played countless amounts of Misfit songs.
yeah.
Also.
But like, it was weird because I'm pretty sure 5 days later we recorded the EP.
Yeah, it was pretty
It was
quickly.
really fast. It was like 2 days later we wrote Equilibrium. And then like a day later we were like, hey, let's cover Astro Zombies. And a day later we wrote probably Grindhouse Ride. And we contacted Mikey, and he'd just gotten out of school for like audio engineering, and he was like, "Yeah, I'll be at your house this weekend." And then we were like,
Set it up for
"Here we
recording.
go."
That's crazy.
And then like we ordered Matt, our bass player at the time, Matt Curley, his mom. Did she pay for the CDs? I think she paid for like 100 CDs, and bought us a van, a brand new van, and was like, "Okay, kids, have fun." And we were like, "Well, here we go."
Got it.
My dad drew the album
His
cover.
dad drew the album cover,
We
and
put that on a T-shirt,
just fucking went from there. It was just going.
and then we were like, we need to play a show.
Yep.
So we
Augusta, Georgia.
we played. Our first show was here in Crossville
Yeah.
at the train depot,
Yeah.
and then I can't remember if the
Did we
temple.
play Nashville?
There was a temple.
Yeah, we played Temple
And that
before we
might have
had
been
a
our
CD, because that's on the booklet. The pictures are from Temple.
Oh yeah, that's right.
So yeah, we played
that was
Crossville.
probably our second show.
We
yeah.
played and for our second show, we took these speaker boxes. Brent still have them. His cat uses them to eat on.
Yep.
And
Huge
we took these
speaker,
huge,
like-
5 foot tall and by like 2 feet wide or something. And we cut cardboard out that said silent on one of them and horror on the other. And we put a sheet behind it and lit them with red and green lights and put them up on our stage. It had those just blaring out. And then we had a fog machine, and we were going for it, man. Like our first
sick.
show, we thought like, okay, well, that's what the Misfits would do, right?
Yep.
That's what they would do. So
And it was awesome.
yeah, it was sick.
It was really cool.
We only used them for that one show.
I think we used them to. Yeah.
That one show.
it, yeah.
That we used them that one show.
Yeah, I think one show. Yeah,
Yeah, one show. That was it.
went through, couldn't find nothing. Yes,
I feel
one.
like we might have tried to take it to like Augusta.
We weren't fitting those things in there.
Yeah, and I think they were too big.
And I
so
think when we
just-
showed up, we realized like, who the fuck are we, and why are we bringing these? You know, like
Yeah.
that kind of deal. But
and we were gonna do the makeup. Man,
God, we were
it
gonna
was be
really
so
do it.
cool.
We were gonna do makeup every show.
It was gonna be so cool.
that's I think that's one reason why I didn't go full force wanting to do hard punk, because I wouldn't think nobody would take me seriously
Oh yeah,
with makeup on. Like I said, I'm not trashing the bands. It's just listen to how I talk. Would you take me serious if I had
hey
like
guys, I'm right here. I'm scary as
spooky.
hell. I'm spooky as
Hell
hell. son. Hell yeah.
You're going to take me damn serious.
And get you a look at this
scared.
spooky ass Southern bull.
that's the thing. Like I was like, well, I can't be in a hard punk band. There's no way. But then, like I said, I saw that picture of y'all with the hoods and stuff, and I was like, holy shit! I was like, that's what I want to do. I want a leather jacket. I want a damn hood on my head, and I want to sing
fucking
spooky
scary.
doo-wop songs.
Well, I'm pretty sure, like when we were, like after like 2 times, I think we wore makeup one time all the way, like real, and then one time we had like
think-
whitish
I think it was
kind of
3 times.
Foo
I think
bar.
we did our very first show, that show at Temple, and then the Foo Bar show. And it was
I don't
after
think on
that,
our first show we did. I think it was our second show. That Temple was the first time I remember anybody.
No, we definitely did. Our very first show,
and
we had.
I
makeup.
refused to do it at our second show.
Oh yeah, yeah, the Temple one.
And then on our third show, we put a little bit on. Afterward, I said, no more. We're not doing this anymore.
We couldn't. I want to say that the first time we went to Augusta, we were gonna do it, but we couldn't find a bathroom. I think to put it on, it was too weird. There was too much going on, and we were like, and that's when we realized
It was like 9 bands playing that
yeah,
night.
We were like, we're not gonna walk around here with makeup on. This is
just
not,
weird.
I would panic because
Oh,
like
yeah.
I'm so OCD. Like
We-
before we play, like I'm
Yeah.
stretching and stuff. If I'm stretching with makeup on and it gets smeared or something,
God, you'd be-
I'm done.
Well,
Yeah.
it's like we realized like if you're in the Misfits, you don't see the Misfits until you see them in their glory.
Yeah, it's
right.
like-
You'll see them walking around. They don't come out and set their amps and
Doyle's not
You know-
stomping around with no makeup on, setting up his amp.
no, they come out like monsters and it works. And that's what we realized we couldn't do is that we had to be in the show. You know, if we were the
You can't
third
set up
band
your
playing,
gear and then come out there all like,
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's like everybody was gonna see us walking around and stuff like that. So we realized pretty quickly that
Yeah,
it just wasn't. It just wasn't. For
so
us.
we were like, well, what band looks cool? Oh yeah, AFI. They don't wear shit. bleeding through at the time. We were like, man, let's just put on some black clothes and be weird and wild.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, hardcore kids, we just kept the look, and we never went back because
Yep.
I don't even have time to think about when we're at a show. I'm sitting there going, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. I'm not thinking about, okay, let me go find a bathroom and put on this little makeup.
Yeah.
I don't want to do that ever.
Yeah.
I couldn't.
It's a lot of extra stuff that, I mean, some people do it and they, you know, it works for them, but
Hey man, the Jasons got it made, dude.
Yeah,
they don't have to
Jason.
do shit.
Yeah, throw on a
bam,
mask
throw
like
on the
that.
mask,
Yeah.
get it.
I feel like the Jasons wear masks because the lead singer is scared of me, and he knows if I found him, I'd whoop his
You
ass.
whoop his ass hard.
yeah.
Wow.
So yeah, you're gonna kick Jason V's ass. That's
Full-blown?
that's where full blown ass whipping for the Jasons. So yeah, I just don't think makeup was for silent horror. I don't think that was ever an option after that. After a couple of times of, nah, I'm not doing this. And if you look inside the booklet of the original EP, you can see you have a little bit of makeup on, but James has like a half face skull
half skull
thing or something. And then Matt has weird eye things or something. And then I have shit all over my face. I don't know what it is, but I remember at that show, and I'm going to say this, I had longer black hair, and I guarantee you it was black hair dye all over
dripping
me.
down your face.
No,
You
it was
did-
all over
yeah.
my neck, everywhere,
You
dude. I
did
remember I had like
that a lot.
all over a red shirt. It was literally all over me. I remember just being covered in black hair dye like every day. Every day. No matter, I'd wake up and my damn pillow be black.
Wow.
Because I had bright blonde hair. So
go heavy.
if it grew out for a week, you could see all my roots everywhere. It's like white. So I got really pissed, and I just lived with dye in a shampoo bottle.
Hey, that's what Pete Steele was thinking about.
Yeah.
Black #1. You can't go out when your damn roots are showing.
Nope.
Can't do it.
Hell no. But yeah, I think that's again, like you said, not knocking anybody wearing makeup. If you have the guts and you can do it and everything like that, awesome. But I just don't think that was ever for us.
well, that,
I
like-
wish you would experience. I wish we could just do it for you.
Man, I can say it. I mean, I would be a nervous wreck. I would be a nervous wreck because, like, I'm always.
I feel like I would bring somebody. I'd hire somebody to come with us to do it if we ever, like, if we got into it, if we were like, yeah, that's what we're doing. I wouldn't be able to just sit down and do that.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Like I said, I mean, we tried it and
It didn't work. We tried it real quick.
Yeah. There's just something about walking around with it. Like it didn't have the same feel as the Misfits to me because it took all the mystery out of it.
Mm-hmm. Even to this
know?
day, I still, like, when I get to a show, even in the middle of summer, I put a hoodie on.
Oh yeah.
Because I feel weird walking around with, like, exposed arms, like people just see me, you know?
Yeah, I gotta be comfort zone, and like if we're walking around, I mean, I'll be cutting up stuff, but like I have to be
Cutting a rug, but
cutting a rug. Like I try to joke around, but like when it's almost crunch time, like I have.
Oh, I know, because you'll be sitting there in the studio, you're like,
Yeah.
and then we're like, hey, it's time for your bass stuff. You go,
Yeah, I'm pissed.
turn into a freak.
Yeah,
I'm like,
and that's
"Here
how
he
I am
goes."
with shows because like I have to get in that mindset because if I stay too goofy, like goofy I am, I'll fuck up playing.
Oh my God.
I will every time.
I'm the exact opposite.
I will.
Like right when I get in the studio, I got to be goofy on the drums. If I'm drumming, but on the microphone now, I'm scared shitless. So because I don't know how to sing, so I just go in there and go,
Yeah.
Either way, I don't know. But yeah, basically
I'm
that's
usually just talking to somebody and I go, I gotta go play.
shit.
I'll see you up there.
Yeah, I'm usually standing around and Britt runs up to us or something, or runs up to me. And he's like, "Hey, we're on.
I think we're playing.
I think we're playing." And I'm like, "Oh God, we're playing right now. It's us. We're up there." No, you'd figure after being in a band for so long and so many different bands and so many tours, so many shows, we would be a lot more on it. But every single show, I'm like, what are we doing? How do we do this? What's going on? Do we have to bring something up there? I don't know. But yeah, so basically that's kind of how we all got into horror music, horror movies, horror, all of it. And yeah,
Well, I'm sure we'll definitely elaborate on some of these.
yeah,
things
there's a
because,
lot of stuff that, like,
I
that
will
yeah.
tell the story.
One day
Of the
we're going to do an
ghosts.
entire episode. We're going to do an entire episode dedicated to that because you will lose your mind.
Okay.
It's great.
And what's so crazy, I wasn't even here for it. I wasn't even here.
Nope.
So
Didn't have a thing to do with them.
the entire time I was in on it on a phone call.
Yeah, that's,
It's
weird.
dude.
this will be
this story
because
goes.
you've got me peaked. I'm so
telling
confused.
you will peak at least 30 times, peak performance 30 times during this entire thing. It'll blow your mind because when this story was happening, I didn't think it was that crazy. When I got home, I realized the vast scale of what had gone on.
Yeah.
And put it this way, from the beginning of the story to the end of the story, it led him basically being hospitalized almost because other stuff that happened afterward. It's crazy, dude. It's crazy. Just wait. Just
That's
wait.
what
We'll tell that.
We'll tell it.
That's what we say. We'll have to get that set up because
Yeah.
I am
Oh,
very intrigued by this now. Because
We're never going to tell you. We're just going to keep saying
Oh,
next
yeah.
episode, next episode,
Oh,
next
man.
episode.
That's the way
Oh,
to
yeah.
get 'em.
By the way, everybody watching this, check out this new sign.
It's a good one.
You like this? New sign?
It's a legit
Yeah, it's
sign.
a
It's
legit
not
sign.
It's,
It's-
not superimposed. By
No,
there.
no. It's a
Not
legit.
a green screen.
That's a legit. That's it. But yeah, that's basically how we got into, the whole genre of movies, music, everything spooky stuffies. So
Still like
yeah, and if you're new, if you're just watching this because you stumbled upon the podcast on YouTube or anything, we're in a band, Silent Horror. So if you want to check us out, you can go to Instagram, Silent Horror Punk, or you can go to Facebook.com/Silent Horror Punk. You can look us up on Spotify, Silent Horror, YouTube.com/Silent Horror Punk. Everything at Silent Horror Punk. And yeah, we'll have merchandise on our website soon and all kinds of stuff like that. So we appreciate you guys, and we'll see you next time.
and then I go.